I sat down at the Thanksgiving table and not a single person looked up. My cousin Brooke didn't even glance my way. "Oh, you actually came this year? We didn't think you'd bother," Aunt Linda whispered just loud enough for me to hear. She probably can't afford to travel anywhere else anyway. My chair was squeezed in at the corner, a last-minute addition. I smiled and said nothing. They had no idea what was waiting in the driveway. "My name's Isabella. I'm 29 years old, and for most of my life, I've been the family disappointment. I grew up the middle child in a family obsessed with appearances, luxury cars, designer bags, country club memberships, Instagram perfection. I never fit that mold. I worked as a freelance graphic designer, lived in a small apartment, drove a used Honda that made weird rattling sounds on the freeway. To them, I was the one who never made it. No fancy job title, no husband, no Instagram-worthy lifestyle. They'd ask what I did for work, and when I said graphic design, I'd see it in their eyes. Pity, disappointment, sometimes even embarrassment. But I had something they didn't: grit, vision, and 3 years of silent building. I wasn't flashy. I didn't post every meal or vacation. I didn't brag about contracts or clients, but I was building something they couldn't see. If you've ever been pushed aside by family, subscribe right now and tell me where you're watching from. Because this story's for you. I worked late nights, took risks, stopped trying to prove myself to people who'd already decided I wasn't worth their time, and slowly they stopped inviting me to things. I told myself I didn't care. I almost believed it. But 2 years ago, something happened that changed everything. My family planned a once-in-a-lifetime trip to the Amalfi Coast for my grandmother's 80th birthday. I didn't get an invitation. I didn't get a phone call. I found out on Instagram. Photos of my siblings, my cousins, my aunts and uncles, all toasting on a yacht under the Italian sun. I stared at my phone, scrolling through image after image. Not one of them included me. I called my mom. My hands were shaking. Why wasn't I told about the trip? She sighed like I was being dramatic. "Oh, honey, it was really expensive. We didn't think you'd be able to afford it, so we didn't want to make you feel bad." "You didn't even ask me." "Well, it's not like you have the kind of job where you can just take off to Italy. We were trying to be considerate." Considerate. That word sat in my chest like a stone. A week later, I saw my brother at a coffee shop. He didn't apologize, didn't even seem sorry. Honestly, it would have been awkward. Everyone was talking business and investments. What were you going to talk about? Logo designs? He laughed. I didn't. The final sting came that night. My younger sister posted a group photo. The whole family on the boat, smiling, arms around each other. The caption read, "Family is everything." I wasn't in it. Literally erased. I didn't cry. I didn't call them. I didn't argue. I just left the group chat. And that same week, my design startup landed its first 6-figure contract with a tech firm. I told no one. Over the next year, the distance grew. They created a new family group chat to plan holidays. I wasn't added. I only found out when my dad accidentally texted me directly. "Did you see the message about Christmas in Aspen?" "What message?" Silence. Then my sister texted, "Oh, we figured you wouldn't want to come. You're always so busy with your little projects." Little projects. I stopped reaching out altogether. 6 months later, I got a last-minute invitation to my cousin's engagement party. I showed up in simple clothes. I'd come straight from a client meeting. The moment I walked in, my aunt's voice cut through the room. "Isabella, sweetie, couldn't you have dressed up a little? This is a nice event." Cousin Brooke laughed. "She probably thinks this is dressed up. Not everyone can afford Nordstrom, Aunt Linda." A few people chuckled. I felt my face go hot. Then Uncle Richard cornered me near the bar. So what have you been up to, Isabella? I've been working on my business. He cut me off. Oh, right, the graphic design thing. That's cute. But when are you going to get a real job? You're almost 30. The entire table heard him. Someone snickered. I forced a smile, said nothing, and left early. A month later, my brother called. First time in half a year. Hey, Iz, I need a favor. Can you design a logo and website for my buddy's startup? He's on a budget, so maybe you could do it for like $200? Family discount? I took a breath. My starting rate is $15,000. Silence. Then he laughed. Are you serious? That's insane. Who's paying you that? My clients. Yeah, okay. Well, when you're ready to help family instead of being greedy, let me know. Click. I sat there holding the phone. I wasn't sad. I was angry. That night, I booked a private flight to Miami to close a deal. I didn't tell anyone, because here's what they didn't know. For the last 3 years, I hadn't just been doing logo designs. I'd quietly built a boutique branding agency working with startups that later went viral. One of my clients got acquired by a Fortune 500 company. My contract included equity options. I cashed out, then reinvested, then scaled. By the time my family was laughing at my little projects, I was pulling in 7 figures a year. I didn't post about it, didn't brag, didn't buy a flashy car or designer wardrobe. I traveled constantly for work. New York, London, Dubai. But I flew commercial, stayed humble, kept my head down. My business partner, Noelle, told me more than once, "You know you don't owe them anything, right?" I knew. But part of me still wanted them to see me, just once. And then, the opportunity came. I signed the biggest rebrand deal of my career, 8 figures, a global tech client going public. And part of the partnership? Access to the client's private jet for business travel. The signing happened the same week as my grandmother's 85th birthday party. Noelle looked at me across the conference table after we closed the deal. Why do you still go to their events? Because she's my grandma. I love her. It's not her fault the rest of them are like this. Noelle leaned back. Then show up in a way they'll never forget. The idea formed slowly. My grandmother's party was in California. I'd be flying in from a meeting in New York. I booked the jet. Not to show off, but because I could. A few days before the party, my mom accidentally forwarded me a message from the family group chat. Aunt Linda, is Isabella coming? Mom, I invited her, but she probably can't afford the hotel we're staying at. Brooke, honestly, she's such a downer. I hope she doesn't come. I screenshotted it. Didn't respond. Noelle saw my face. You're still going, right? I smiled. Oh, I'm going. The morning of the party, my mom texted me. If you're coming, can you pick up the cake? We're all too busy. Treating me like an errand girl, I typed back. I'll be there. I didn't mention how. The party was at a private estate with a garden venue. My family arrived in their luxury cars, Teslas, BMWs, a Mercedes SUV. They stood around with champagne, talking about who drove what. Aunt Linda's voice carried across the lawn. Did you see the new Range Rover I leased? It's the limited edition. And then they heard it. A low hum growing louder. Everyone looked up. The private jet appeared over the hills, descending toward the estate's airstrip. Brooke squinted. Who the hell chartered a jet to a birthday party? The jet taxied. The door opened. I stepped out in a tailored blazer and sunglasses, calm and composed. A driver met me with a car to take me the last quarter mile to the garden. I walked in. The entire family went silent. Uncle Richard's champagne glass froze halfway to his mouth. Isabella? My brother tried to laugh it off. Did you rent that for the day or something? I looked at him. No, it's part of a contract I signed last week. 8-figure rebrand deal with a global tech client. The jet's a business perk. Aunt Linda's face went pale. Wait, you're saying I run a branding agency. We're about to go international. I've been doing this for 3 years. Brooke's voice was defensive. Why didn't you ever say anything? I looked her dead in the eye. I tried. You called it cute. You said I needed a real job. My mom stepped forward, trying to smooth it over. Honey, we're so proud of you. No. My voice was steady. You're surprised. There's a difference. I turned away from them and walked to my grandmother. I handed her a gift. Happy birthday, Grandma. I love you. Tears filled her eyes. I always knew you were special, Isabella. I hugged her, held her tight. Then I turned back to the rest of them. I didn't come here to prove anything. I came for her. But just so we're clear, you don't get to ignore me for years and then act proud when it's convenient. I stayed for cake, talked only to my grandmother, laughed with her, listened to her stories. And then I left on my own terms. I flew back that evening. Noelle was waiting on the other end with champagne. How'd it go? I smiled. Exactly how it needed to. Over the next week, my phone blew up. Texts from family members congratulating me, asking to catch up, suddenly interested in my life. My brother even asked if I was hiring. I didn't reply to most of them. My mom called, her voice shaky. I'm sorry we didn't see you, Isabella. Really. I took a breath. I don't need you to see me anymore, Mom. I see myself. I didn't cut them off completely, but I set boundaries. Stopped chasing their approval. Stopped waiting for them to be proud. I kept building my empire, traveled the world, invested in myself. A week later, a handwritten note arrived in the mail. It was from my grandmother. I've always been proud of you, not because of what you have, but because of who you are. I kept that note on my desk, and I realized something. For years, their silence made me feel invisible. Now, it just sounds like peace. If this story hit home, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Seriously, I read them all. Have you ever had family underestimate you, then act shocked when you succeeded? Tell me your story below. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Let's build a community where we actually see each other. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next one.